As I was talking to a mother on a video call, she said that she had been trying to stop her boys from arguing, teasing, and tormenting each other with all manner of, the usual gestures and tones. She said, I tell them that we have a zero tolerance for anger, whining, and teasing, but they just keep doing it. I think it might be unconscious. She said, maybe they don't understand what they're doing. And I burst into laughter and said, when you walk on a flat, safe surface, are you conscious of moving each muscle required for walking? She said, no. So you're walking, but it's almost all unconscious, right? In fact, sometimes you forget that you're even walking. She said, true. Have you ever walked in the woods? Sure, a few times. I live in the woods, so I do it a lot, I told her. When I walk on the concrete and wood and gravel paths on the way to the woods, I'm not consciously choosing how my legs move. It's just habit. But when I enter the woods to do a project or just for fun, everything changes. The ground is uneven, and almost everywhere on the ground there are roots, sticks, logs, animal burrows, tree stumps, and more. If I continue walking the woods with the same unconscious stride that I use on concrete, every one of those objects can cause me to stumble and fall. I have to watch every single step I take in the woods because those objects are everywhere and sometimes not visible easily. On occasion, though, as I'm working in the woods, I become occupied with the task and I take a step unconsciously. Commonly, my foot snags on a root or a branch, and then either I stumble or even fall to the ground unpleasantly. I continued. When I'm in the woods, I choose to take my steps consciously. I choose to switch from unconscious to conscious walking. And you can teach your kids to do the same with their thoughts, speech, and behavior. First, you have to point out to them every single unloving behavior every time. If you don't, they regard each failure to say something as you giving them permission to behave badly. Fact, if you teach them every time that they're unloving, though, you'll teach them to become conscious of behavior that's always been unconscious. It's understandable that they're unconscious of their bad behaviors. You've actually taught them, unconsciously on your part, to feel empty and afraid. So they've learned to react unconsciously to their pain all day instead of consciously making loving choices. And by saying nothing, you've taught them that their reactions to pain were acceptable. But all that unconscious reacting can begin to change right now. As we spoke, I could hear the sounds of unkind conversation in the next room. The tone is easy. So I said to Mom, call one of them in here to join the conversation. Which one? Doesn't matter. 10-year-old Jay came in. Now keep in mind that Jay's mother had already taught him about the behaviors that are unloving and unacceptable. He knew. I introduced myself until he felt less uneasy. And then I said, tell me some of the manipulative, terrible behaviors you've done today with your older brother. And he said, characteristic. What? Like he knew nothing. I repeated the question exactly, and he looked at me with that expression that children often use, where they're imitating the intelligence and understanding of, say, a rabbit. Quizzical, puzzled, bewildered, and innocent, all at the same time. It's just gorgeous. I smiled and turned to Mom. Do you recognize that expression on his face? What do you mean? She said, with almost the same expression as her son's. This conversation was very different from anything she'd ever experienced, so she too was puzzled. But by now, of course, I'm chuckling. When I ask him about his behavior, he acts like he has no idea what I'm talking about, and he succeeds in convincing you that he really doesn't know. Here's the useful part. Often he's not aware consciously of what he's doing, but if you ask him to think about it, even just by asking him a question, he really can choose to become conscious of what he was doing. Watch this, I said as I turned to Jay. Jay, let's play a game and do a test at the same time. It won't be difficult. His expression changed from bewildered to curious. You understand, I said, the meaning of the phrase, tell me. For example, if I say, tell me your name, what would you say? Jay, I said, okay then. You're 100% correct so far. See? Not difficult. Now, what do I mean by the word some? If I say, tell me some of the letters of the alphabet, do I want you to recite all of them? No. So some means more than zero, but less than all of something, right? Yes. You're still perfect, I said, with a smile and lifting my brows in appreciation. Do you know the word manipulative? Sneaky, he said. Means sneaky, trying to get what you want by being sneaky. That's about as good a definition of that word as I've heard. What about the word terrible? He said, awful, bad, horrible. So you really do understand what I said to you earlier. You got the first half, so I'm certain you understand the second half. The whole sentence went like this. Tell me some of the manipulative, terrible behaviors you've done today with your brother. Remember now? So tell me some of the behaviors. Suddenly, Jay became brilliant. He said, teasing? Yes, I said. You tease your brother a lot. What else? Just from today. I got angry at him and called him names. I calmly, even with some humor in my face, said, keep going. You're doing great. He said, I used some of his things without asking, and I argued with him. Oh, nice work, Jay. So I turned to Mom and I said, see how smart he really is? When you ask him what he did, he always acts like you're speaking some foreign language. He acts like he has no idea what you're talking about. But the truth is, he does understand. You just need to continue talking to him until his unconscious feelings and behaviors become conscious to him, like we just did. Then he can describe them. Then he can begin to make wiser and more loving choices. It's not that he doesn't understand. The truth is that one, he doesn't want to understand. And two, you're not consistently teaching him. Mom learned to love and teach, and steadily, Jay and his brother became consciously aware of their behaviors. They learned to make conscious, loving choices. They worked to find solutions to their problems, and sometimes, yeah, they needed to be motivated with consequences. Children do not behave badly because they're evil or because they weren't taught at school. They behave badly because they haven't been taught what loving feels like, nor have they been taught how to be loving toward others. They haven't been taught by their parents, by us. It's always all about the parents.